This is Larry Pollock with Leo Mayerhofer. We're coming to you from the Underground Performance Gym podcast. We're doing a little bit of wrap up of the Arnold Classic, 2025 Arnold Classic. A little bit late because I did a bunch of filming over there, and my uh, wireless mics weren't recording, so I had a bunch of footage there, but it unfortunately it was all turned on. I'm not sure to right now even what happened, why they didn't record, but I got a bunch of video with no sound. But
Damn.
anyways,
You know what you can do? You can
yeah,
turn it into a black white, make it a little shizzly, and it's a mute film from 1920. Yeah,
yeah.
too bad, man. But you had a good time there, right? It was pretty fun.
So I will say um, that was one hectic trip. Going to
I
LA,
told you it's gonna be freaking flights.
first of all, my
Yeah.
flights got all jumbled around at the last minute because Expedia like canceled my flights and I had to get new flights. So that was crazy as it was. But getting to LAX from Ventura is normally a 2 hour drive, but I guess there was accidents all over the freeway. So it turned into a 4 hour drive in traffic. So I get there like 30 minutes before my plane
Oh my
uh,
god.
is going to leave. I get to TSA, and of course they have to check me in TSA, and the guy's taking a sweet time. So it took me for like an hour and a half to get through TSA because they were searching my cooler of food. Um,
Oh Lord.
so, anyways, but they did get me rebooked on the next flight, and I actually caught my connecting flight to Chicago, so it worked out. It was just hectic going, and then I would say the expo was decent. I did make some good connections there. I got a apparel connection. They're going to make some clothing line for us that I really like their designs and the material. Um, a few supplement connections. I gotta say honestly, I there was maybe two one or there was a cookie vendor that made a really good cookie made of oatmeal and whey protein that I
Hmm.
thought was just awesome. That was gluten free. Um, and there's one troponin supplements that had some interesting supplements, and I've actually tried them before.
Hmm.
Everything else, though, um, is the same. Like I went to all the booths and checked out their different pre workouts, and it's just the same stuff with a different label. Almost all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one guy. He said, "Oh, this is our pre workout. And it has a test booster in it." And I'm like, "Okay, what is a test booster made out of?" He's like,
What the
"Boron."
heck? Oh my god.
You know what boron is? Just a mineral. And I mean,
I mean, boron helps a little bit with lowering your SHBG, but
yeah,
I mean,
it's not a test booster.
no.
No, I mean it works for lowering SHBG, which is going to increase your free testosterone. But I mean, I just take plain boron, 6 milligrams twice a day. I've been doing that forever,
Yeah.
um, from just regular supplement company. So that's nothing special. So actually, I got the idea that I'm going to just make my own supplement brand because I don't find anything unique with most of these supplements. It's
I was
mostly
thinking that the other day. I would love to get a freaking rich investor who would just invest in my knowledge. Dude, there's so much, so many good ingredients, and like no one's putting them together. And I look at some labels and like, who the hell came up with this stuff? Were they like throwing like like a cube and be like, oh, we got ingredient X. We just or like are they tossing coins like on the ingredients? Like how the hell? Like some
most of the
ingredients find their way into things. They're like, what? Why is it in there?
most of the pre workouts is
Mm,
just beta alanine with a bunch of caffeine.
yeah.
And some other things in there, but I mean, there's nothing special in them.
You know the
Really, there's
funny thing
nothing.
is, these people at these expos, they don't know anything, and when they feel the tingling from the beta alanine, they think the booster is amazing because they think, oh, like I feel something, so it's great. And it's like, bro, it's a tingling from beta alanine. It doesn't do
I
anything.
actually
It's just
don't like
annoying.
beta-alanine because it makes my butt itch, and I don't
Yeah.
I don't like the feeling of it. I don't like the tingling feeling, so I just don't like beta-alanine. Period.
The
But
thing with beta alanine is you take it. Usually you take it for endurance, and you take it multiple times a day, like 3 times a day, like 2 grams, and then
mhm,
also that tingling goes away. So that's a great thing to take for endurance athletes because it buffers the lactic acid production a bit, and then it makes sense for bodybuilders too. But I don't know how well it works if you just take it occasionally. I think you really have to take it all the time. That's what I learned as an endurance athlete. So for a bodybuilder, if you want the benefit, you would have to take it all the time and get it by itself. But I think they just put it in there because of what it's supposed to do, because people don't know it's only doing that if you take it all the time. And then they have the tingling, and they're like, "Did you? I worked at expos, and people were like, it's the greatest booster ever. This tingling. That's all they want. They if they feel something, you can fool
it's a
them. They're
placebo.
happy. Yeah, they're totally happy.
Well, like you said,
It's wild.
if you're only taking a pre-workout, not throughout the day, it's not doing
Yeah,
what it's supposed to. Then it's worthless.
exactly.
But I,
But
I
it
really
tingles.
wasn't really impressed with any of the supplements there. I
Yeah.
looked at them all and got samples and stuff, and I really decided I'm going to design my own supplement line, with what I want to put in it,
There's a
because there are
few
certain,
good ones, but nothing special. But there's a few good lines where like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like what I've seen from HD Muscle mostly makes sense. Obviously, I'm with Blackstone because their products are pretty well dosed, the pre-workouts, um, and it's good quality protein and stuff. Then they have what else is there? I think Raw is also not bad, but it's very expensive. So in
mhm,
that regard, it's like you can get the same stuff but cheaper. And what else is there? And I gotta say, they don't have many products, but Fuad Abiad's line is also pretty good. It's really high dosed. And then they have this Gorilla Mind. They also have really high dose good stuff. Like a lot of brands, are so underdosed. They just have everything on the label, but everything's way too less. Like
right.
way too few milligrams and everything. It's like cool to have it, but you need like 5 times more. So it's not gonna do shit.
Well, I'm going to do a non-stim pre-workout, just a pump product, and then the stim
Yeah.
one with a DMMA in it,
Oh,
because I
full
that
stem.
that that's the
Okay.
one that everybody wants because it's like crack. I
Yeah.
remember when we
Yeah.
had
I'm
that, it
I'm
was
not.
selling like crazy.
It would sell, but I'm personally not a fan of it because it gets people's adrenal glands fucked up, and they take it every day, and you really have to educate people, and it obviously it's on them. But I would only take a booster like that if like I really feel I need to take it, otherwise I'm not gonna get the workout
Well,
in.
I don't even use
Yeah.
stimulant
Yeah.
pre-workouts. I just use 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's it. But
Exactly. Like drink a coffee, take your pump.
yeah,
There you
that's
go.
pretty much
Yeah.
what I do. But
Yeah.
I
Perfect.
know that when we had that with the DMMA, that stuff was
Yeah.
selling like crazy
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the young kids, they want to feel cracked out.
You need some of the best sellers. When you start anything, you need a bestseller first. Whatever has a good margin and sells well, and then
Yeah.
you can get like super cool supplements which almost no one buys and are expensive to make. You can't start with them unless you're already a billionaire and you just don't give a crap.
Well,
That would be
right
cool
now I
if you just
carry
have.
HD muscle supplements,
Yeah,
and they have the liver product and the kidney
yeah,
product,
exactly. They
and
have some good stuff.
they have some really good stuff. But it doesn't sell because people don't care about that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
Well,
use
you
it
know what's really
myself.
good? Yeah, this IFBB Pro Jeff Long. His health, his line is really good. Um, I have the complete health I always use. That's an all-in-one product. Um, damn, I forget. Like a Pro subs, like a Pro, it's
Hmm.
called. That's a pretty good brand. Also very very yeah, not very known, but actually very awesome. And that stuff's so good, so always sold out. And he's going to make an even better version 3 now. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah,
Well,
it's
I found a compounding place that will compound my own supplements. So I'm working on
What
that
are you
right
going to
now.
call them?
Probably Underground Performance.
It's not a bad name, yeah.
Underground Performance Supplements. But I can put in my own ingredients at the dosages that I want.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
that's. I mean, they have some formulas that they use, but I don't want to use their formulas. I'm just going to put in what I think is good, and then I'll test different. They'll make different samples of different ones for me, and I can test them out and decide on like which formula I think is the best one.
And then you use another place for the flavoring, or how do you do that?
No, they do everything.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they do everything. They bottle it, label it, the whole 9 yards.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a project to start. And anyways, let's get back to the Arnold. I would say the highlight of the Arnold for me was actually the show. The rest of it was like, yeah, whatever. I've been to a million shows, but the highlight was the show. And actually, when Derek won, I was so excited. Not because I'm just a fan of Derek, even though I am. I was excited because the judges made the right decision. And honestly, going into this Arnold, I was really concerned that there was going to be politics involved. I thought no matter what, they're going to give it to Sampson because he's the reigning Mr. Olympia. And you know how the saying goes, you can't just beat the champ, you have to knock out the champ. That's the way it's been forever. And
I think
also,
sorry.
and Sampson's been very popular, for a while. People just like him, you know. My problem with Sampson is his conditioning. I just didn't feel, even when he won the Olympia, that his conditioning was Olympia standard. I mean, he's plenty big. He's huge. A matter of fact, I will say this: I was sitting probably 5 rows back, right in the front, and you'd be surprised, and you'd see things a lot different from 5 rows back than on a screen or halfway back in the stadium. And from 5 rows back, he is huge. Sampson is just massive. The size of him is unbelievable. However, his conditioning, especially at prejudging, he was watery. And I'm a conditioning guy. For me, like, you have to be conditioned, and especially for Mr. Olympia or an Arnold Classic winner. I mean, you have to. Conditioning is just part of it. And if you don't have that, then I don't see how you win. So I just felt there was a lot of politics involved in the last few years with him winning, and the fact that Derek and Hadi were off at the last year's Olympia, and this year the judges finally made the right decision, and Derek had everything going on. He had conditioning, he had the size, he had the presentation, his tan was perfect. I mean, everything was just nailed. He peaked perfectly for this show. And so, if you have someone that's peaked perfectly and they check all the boxes, they check conditioning, they check size, they check structure, they check everything. He's just a little bit shorter. And I would say it's size-wise, he's not, like, muscle size-wise, he's not much smaller than Sampson, or maybe not even.
Yeah. They never, they're always like, oh, he's bigger. Like, dude, in bodybuilding, it means who's bigger pound per height, not just on the scale. It's not a scale contest. Obviously, who's taller is gonna weigh more, but it's like pound per height, per inch height. Like, how much muscle do you have? It's not about. Yeah, I never get that, but people are just it. I guess yes, of course, it's more impressive if someone's tall. Okay, you get 5% like 0.5% extra. If it's super close, the taller guy wins. Okay, but it has to be super close for that. And I don't think it was. I agree with you. I also think when you mentioned politics, I think they realized that, wait a minute, it's actually way better if we don't let the same guy win and have it predictable, because then there will be way more excitement, anyways, and that will draw way more people to the shows than if they're like, well, Simpson's going to win anyways. Like, who's going to come if you're dead sure he's going to win anyways? So I feel that helps actually the sport more than it doesn't. So I don't get this politics thing, and since it's all out there in the media compared to back then, it doesn't make sense to build these 20-time champions when there's like when you don't need that one ambassador, that one megastar, because it's out
Well, in
there
the
anyways.
past, though, there was like the megastar who
Exactly.
represented the sport and everybody followed. I mean, in the 80s, you had Lee Haney.
Yeah.
Before that, you was Schwarzenegger. And then after Lee Haney came Dorian. And,
And
then
then
after
Ronnie.
Dorian, it was Jay Cutler.
Ronnie.
Oh,
You
no,
skipped
I'm sorry.
Ronnie.
It was Ronnie.
Poor Ronnie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ronnie. Let's not skip him. So there you had Ronnie, and then you had Jay Cutler, and then you had Phil Heath. And since after Phil Heath, it's kind of been a toss up.
Yeah.
We haven't really had a
Prominent.
multiple time reigning Mr. Olympia.
Yeah. Exactly what Phil said. Should we put it up? Shall I pull it up real quick?
Yeah, let's pull that up.
Yeah,
Phil's little
let's pull
clip.
that up because Phil did a wrap up himself. I think he does it on YouTube now, but the video I'm going to show now is on Instagram. It's kind of the end of his wrap up.
Basically, what Phil's talking about is, there's no specific person at this moment, although I'll slightly disagree with him, who is the for sure winner at this year's coming Mr. Olympia. Because
Yeah.
we have in contention, we have Derek. Derek just won. He's won one Olympia and he's won one Arnold Classic. You have Hottie, won one Olympia and one Arnold Classic. You have Sampson,
Sampson
who's won
too.
one Olympia and one Arnold Classic. So those three are
Right.
tied. They're all tied with one
Yeah.
Olympia and one Arnold Classic. Okay.
I never yeah, I never looked at it that way. It's the first time I actually count, or you take count, and that's interesting. So whoever wins the next one is in the lead. Is in the
Right.
lead.
So they're tied. And now behind
Yeah.
them, we have two dark horses, which is Nick Walker. And I know people are counting him out, but I wouldn't. Because Nick Walker has, been top 3 at the Olympia. And we have Martin Fitzwater, who was a top 4 at the Olympia, but also they both won multiple pro shows after that. So because of the way things are so shaken up right now, I don't see it like impossible for them to get in. In other words, those are definitely the Hottie, Derek, and Sampson are the 3 front runners. But if those 3 are off in any way, and Martin or Nick nails it 100%, they could be in that top spot. They're not that far behind, and I think Martin especially has a good shot. I think he compares well with a small waist, and size-wise, he's pretty comparable to Hottie and Derek. I think they're pretty similar size-wise.
Yeah, especially since he caught up.
Yeah, conditioning. I'm not sure if he's quite on the level that Derek was at this show, or at Hottie's been at his best. So, but he's close. He's close, and he could get better, and he has been getting better. So, I think that those 2 possibly could sneak in there. And I know people count Nick out, but look, if those guys come off a little bit off and somehow Nick nails it 100%, he's got the size and he comes in the condition when he is at his best to upset the apple cart. And let's take a look at that
New York Pro,
New York Pro, where it was now Nick was a little bit off at this show, but let's take a look at the comparison. New York Pro with
Yeah.
Nick and
Martin.
So this is that New York Pro.
Yeah.
And with Nick and Martin.
Look how they totally didn't tan both their faces.
Yeah, I know.
That looks a little stupid. Like, just put a little bit on, guys. Yeah, but look, Martin is like such a nice shape, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Nick is hard to beat in that pose, to be honest. This is one of his best poses. But at the Olympia, Martin was in even better shape. Looked maybe even a little more muscular. At the Olympia, it was gnarly.
Yeah, he was
Gnarly.
much more conditioned than here.
Yeah. Even though in the upper body he looks really, really good, but his ass was like so shredded at the Olympia, it was like you could put something in between. So that was really nasty. So here, I think Nick probably won the show. That was okay. Martin is way prettier, obviously, like in shots like this. Well, but Nick pulls it together really well. See, Nick has good control. You got to admit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if Nick also gets his conditioning a tad better than here, which I mean, it's pretty amazing. But then his midsection comes that tiny bit more in, and he's pretty dangerous. The only thing which really, really looks horrible is his leg sweep. The conditioning is there, but the shape is just.
Well, this was his worst ever showing that you're seeing right here.
Yeah, and it's still pretty great.
I actually like Martin's look better in this one, to be honest with you.
Aesthetically, 100%. But from a bodybuilding standpoint, I can see why Nick wins it. In the shots, he looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say most of the shots he wins. But when he lets it hang like before, that was bad, right? In this,
right?
Wait, let me see. Look, like he can't.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at this.
Right.
Nah, you can't do that. You have to pull it in right away. If he does, it's good. But if he doesn't, man, oh man. I mean, he's just so muscular, so powerful. But Martin caught up so much in those 4 months to the Olympia, or 5 months, and then he has now another 12 months. Whoa. I'm just like, that's going to be serious. Martin
well,
is
we're going
on
to
a
see in a
mission.
few weeks they're going to be competing in New York and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And
Martin is on a mission.
Martin
has a really good hamstring.
Oh yeah, Martin's balanced all the way around.
Yeah.
And like I said, size-wise, he's right there with those guys.
Yeah. And his back looked so much better at the Olympia.
Yeah. Well, he was more detailed at the Olympia.
Yeah.
Definitely more detailed.
But Nick this is pretty good.
Like I said, I think they're gunning for a top 5 spot, but it's not impossible for them to pull ahead. So there is a possibility.
Question. Yeah.
And we're going to see what they look like in Pittsburgh. And I guarantee you the winner of the Pittsburgh is also going to be a favorite going into this Olympia.
Yeah, there will be a lot of talk after the Pittsburgh. That will be very interesting.
So let's take a look at, we're going to look at the 2024 Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Which was
third link here. You pulled it up last time.
Right, I got it. It's right here.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Interesting looking back like 5 months later. You were like, oh, right. So that was a really interesting competition. The lighting was way better at the Arnold's, I gotta say, though.
I think this is...
That's it.
Is this it right here?
Okay. Yeah, play it. In 1 second, they'll change.
So here we go. This is 2024. Now this is where Derek got third.
Yeah, and he looks better than I remember.
Oh no, this is Arnold Classic. I'm sorry. This is
Arnold
Classic.
That's why.
Back
that's
up.
Why.
Hold on. That's Arnold Classic. Let me pull up the Olympia.
I'm like, why does he look so good? Oh, it's the Arnold Classic. If you don't find it, it's the third link in our chat here. It's
I have it pulled up.
I think. So we might see a little bit of Martin as well, and see the jump he made in those 5 months. That was wow, just amazing to see. What, like at that level in 5 months, if you can make jumps like that, that's kind of gnarly. Yeah, Derek's legs look down, even though he hasn't flexed them yet.
Okay, so
they seem to be a little down.
So this is where Derek got third, and Sampson won. Hottie got second. And honestly, upper body wise, Derek looks pretty damn good. I think he's just, the legs were not quite what they were before. Though they don't look terrible.
No, not terrible. But Sampson also looks in better condition.
He's not his. I think he's just maybe a little watery.
Yeah. The difference is also that Sampson was in better condition.
I mean, even in the legs.
Yeah. But see how much better?
Yeah, Sampson's just.
He flexed his legs though at the Arnold's. He positioned his legs way different, and he had the glutes and the hamstrings in. And here it was in either or when he did it. And he posed his side tricep also way better. So, and his ab shot also, his posing this time was way improved on his ab shot.
So you can see,
yeah,
he still looks good though.
Of course,
but a little bit watery, not quite as dry, maybe as Hottie and Sampson.
Yeah.
In this,
I mean, actually, I think Derek might still be almost in a better condition as Sampson, even there. But to win against Sampson, he just needs to be just needs to be better, and Sampson needs to be a little worse. And Sampson was better conditioned here. You can see it in his abs; they're not as washed out when he doesn't flex them. You can see a little more in his chest, and the arm separation is a little more there. He's still not in 100% shape. His upper body, his shoulder, and his arm looks blurry. There's not this complete separation that we see on Hottie or on Derek. Like Sampson was also not 100% at the Olympia.
No.
But he was just closer to it. And this time he was like too far away. Yeah, his back also looks a little more detailed when he's like here at the Olympia than at the Arnold's. You can never tell if it's the lighting, but I don't think so. I think he just looked way better. Yeah, also the back lat spread looks way tighter than at the Arnold's. Way tighter. It would have been fun to see Hottie at the Arnold's, but yeah, we can't get that back.
So you can see how Derek's legs are a little bit blurry right there.
Yeah, not as also
and his chest has no striations.
Yeah.
Although Sampson has no striations in his chest either.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's true. And he just poses.
Now Hottie
from the front is always stoned.
I really think Hottie
should have won this.
Unbeatable from the front.
Yeah. I think there was an argument for Hottie to win the show, to be honest. I think I
I
might have
actually
given
I
it
felt
to
Hottie
Hottie.
was going to win that show.
Yeah, I might have given it to Hottie because he had the conditioning. He has
Just based on
overall,
conditioning alone.
yeah, no weakness. So I would have probably given it to Hottie, to be honest. But yeah, they gave it to Sampson. But it was okay. It was not a big mistake or anything. I wouldn't say that. Of course not. But close, close. And I mean that's the way they saw it too. They had Derek in third. So yeah, this shot's also perfect for Hottie, and you can see the difference in quality and
Right.
separation here very very nicely. From the front,
So you can
Samson
see
has,
when they hit their legs.
yeah. And yeah, that shot, the ab and thigh was better from Sampson than at the Arnold's. So Sampson got worse, Derek got way better, and that's what made the difference. It would have been different. Yeah, it might have been closer if Sampson came in that shape to the Arnold's. If he came better, he would have probably kept it.
Maybe, but now let's take a look at this Arnold comparisons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right after so that was 2024. Keep in mind, what was it,
yeah,
like 4 months difference in time?
yeah. 5 months. It was October.
So now let's look at the Arnold comparisons.
There you
Okay,
go.
so this is the Arnold comparison,
Yeah,
and this is top four. So they had Brandon in the top four in the prejudging comparison, and then in the night show they actually did a comparison with the top three. This is from
yeah.
prejudging,
Oh, see now he flexes.
and
I think.
now here you
Yeah,
can see Derek. The separation is very deep,
yeah.
and now
But you
you
could
see
also
the
see
difference
for a
in
second.
fullness
Yeah.
and conditioning and dryness.
But you could also see for a second that Samson did not flex his glutes from the side. And then for a second he did it and it was so much more separated. So maybe it was also a posing mistake that made him look not as conditioned as he was, which is very unfortunate. But Derek also puts his legs better. See now he stood on the heel. When he stood on the forefoot and pushed his thighs through,
Mm-hmm.
his legs would lose all sweep. You could see the feather, but it looked straight down. And this way, he had really had both. He showed the more sweep and all the striations, so that was a good move. Even though it doesn't look that pretty, it doesn't look like ballerina esque. But
Let's
who
pull up
cares?
Derek's
It's
posing
about the muscle.
routine.
I think that's right in the
Pull,
beginning of the same video you showed. It's not his. I don't think it's his routine, but it's his presentation round. So that's the first I don't know, 40 seconds or whatever they got. Or do you want to see the whole routine?
if you see his whole routine, you'll just see how good he actually was. Presentation wise, conditioning, he nailed everything at this show. Everything was on. Literally, there was nothing missing at this show. He hit
Yeah.
all. He checked all the boxes: conditioning, presentation, um, size, fullness. Everything was going on, and he did win best poser, which
Yeah,
you usually
I
best
got it.
poser goes to who knows who. And I give credit to Chris Cormier because he was working with him on his posing. So this is not the best video quality because I actually have better video than this because I was filming from like right up close to the stage. But
Well, let's keep it. What else can we do?
well, you can. It's fine. It's good enough.
Yeah.
But you see the fullness and the dryness and the
Yeah.
separation in his legs. I
It
mean,
looked
he's just got,
just perfect. Yeah.
yeah, he has it all going on. He's not missing nothing. Thickness, detail, it's tiny waist with that amount of muscle and that crazy back.
and he just pulled everything in this time. It's really good. So now see how he flexes his legs differently. Bam.
Yeah.
This time the hamstrings, he shows them. Last time when the glutes were flexed, there was no hamstring. And now he loses it for a second, but the eyes are on the back anyways. But it was interesting that Phil Heath on the commentating always was hardcore leaning towards Sampson. He was like such a Sampson fanboy. He said Derek looked good, but he was leaning towards Sampson a lot. And I'm like, what are you seeing, buddy? I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Well, I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes perspective on what I think about Phil Heath's and Derek's relationship and why maybe he had that going on.
Interesting. Okay.
At the 2022 when Derek won. 2022 when Derek won. Someone was filming backstage before Derek went on.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil was talking to Derek about you have to have the killer instinct and, you have to go for blood and all this, because that's like Phil's like fighting mentality. And he was trying to coach him in that, like that. And Derek is like, I don't want to hear that. I'm not about all that.
Oh.
And Derek's got his own thing. I got to know Derek a little bit over, I was not a fan of Derek until I met him at the Fit Expo. I just wasn't sure, like, what I didn't dislike him. I just didn't know what to think about him.
Yeah.
But I met him at the Fit Expo a couple of years ago, and he's a super cool guy. I interviewed him and everything. And so Derek's whole thing is like everything positive. He doesn't want to hear anything negative. Everything with him is positive. Nothing negative. He doesn't speak negatively about anybody. He doesn't want to hear anything negative. That's just his mentality. Everything's got to be a positive. So none of this like animosity or beat the other guy kind of thing. It's just all about him being his best. And so Phil's, the warrior mentality of, you got to go for blood, you got to beat the guy, dream killer, this kind of thing. And he's not about that. He's just not.
Phil felt or still feels offended by Derek's rejection because Phil is like the 7-time champ, and he should have kind of like, he felt offended that he didn't take his advice and put it into.
Well, it was a couple of things. Phil was on team Henny Rombod. Henny Rombod was his coach. And at the time, Henny Rombod was Derek's coach. So technically they're like all with Evogen and they're on the same team with Henny Rombod.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phil's trying to give his like advice to Derek. And Derek's like, nah, I don't want to hear about that. I don't care what you have to say. Basically, Derek's dismissing that he's 7-time Mr. Olympia and doesn't, he's like, I'm staying in my lane, doing my own thing. And I don't really care that you're Phil Heath and what you're saying, because I don't agree with, your approach. On top of that, I guess Derek must have some harsh feelings about the last Olympia. He openly stated that he felt some things went on in the prep. He didn't state specifically what, but he said during the wrap up of the Arnold that there were several things that went on during the prep from the Olympia that were just made no sense to him.
Yeah, I heard that.
In a way, he was basically saying that he thinks that Hani Rambod either dropped the ball or threw him under the bus. And, he just recently parted ways with Hani Rambod and Evogen. And he's now with something called Jocko, a different supplement company.
Yeah.
Which they had a big booth there. They make some electrolyte drinks and some other things as well, protein and whatnot.
Yeah, it's from a big podcaster, Jocko Willink. He's pretty popular.
So yeah, so Derek's with that, and yeah, so I think he, him parting with Haney Rombod and Evogen, and also, not listening to Phil. Phil's just not a Derek fan, and I don't mean physique wise, but on a because Phil did say that Derek brought it all together in a wrap up, and that Derek. This is after the whole thing was over.
Yeah.
But during the podcast, yeah, he was probably not on Derek's side because he's not a fan of Derek because of their personal interactions between him and Derek, and him and Hottie, which is kind of childish because as a podcaster you should put your personal feelings aside. And by the way, I'm a huge Phil Heath fan, so I'm just speaking on you know like, no matter whether I like somebody or don't like somebody, if I'm podcasting or even right now, I'm just going to say, who I think is the best and for what reasons, not because, I like this person more. Whoever's the best should win. It's not a,
I agree. I'm a
it's
big
not
Phil
a,
Heath fan too, but I just realized that he was very pro Sampson, and then when everyone said Derek won fair and square, he was like, yeah, he won fair and
yeah,
square. But throughout the moderation, the commentary of the broadcast, he didn't really. It didn't really sound that he had Derek first, um, but and that he favored Sampson for whatever reason. He just always pointed out that he's so massive and so aesthetic and all that. But I mean, okay, I just think like you said, if you like, you just have to say what you're looking at and leave everything else on the side. Because just like we do right now, I love Phil Heath. I text with him. He's the most amazing guy. Um, and actually, Arnold introduced us because he was at Gold's Gym and Arnold was there and I was working out. And Arnold told Phil that, here, this is my friend Leo. And then we shook hands and talked a bit. And a very cool guy. Like, even that he responds to me on Instagram, I'm like, I feel very honored, and I appreciate that a lot. And I think he does great work right now for the sport, and yeah, for the people that follow him, because he's not just staying in his lane. He's also, like, on some podcasts talking a little politically, talking a little bit about society, just trying to spread good values and not just be like the guy who everyone loves and doesn't try to say anything wrong. So actually, I like that because I hate it when people just, um, yes, I like that Derek is all about positivity and he can decide to do that. But if you want to make a positive change, sometimes you have to say what's going wrong. Because how can you know, y- you can't just change things or bad people or bad behavior by
well, let
saying
me, let me,
love
let me,
each other.
let me qualify a couple things you
Yeah,
just said. Okay.
yeah.
First of all, I met Phil Heath backstage at the USA's. I actually
Hmm.
competed against him in the same weight class, although I'm not saying I actually was competing with him because I was over depleted, dehydrated. I was not nearly competing with him. I just happened to be back there. And this is before he turned pro. He turned pro at that USA. I believe that was 2004. This is when Nasser prepped me for the USA and basically
I
destroyed
think
me.
it was probably a little later, 2005 or six, but yeah, could be. Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was 2005. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're right. It was 2005, I think. But anyways, I know I was backstage with him because I was backstage and there was a there was a lot of guys, but probably I don't know how many guys, 50 guys back there pumping up, getting ready.
Hmm.
And there was actually some really big guys competing in there that were big. But I saw Phil and he was just like by himself, pumping up in the corner. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know who he is, but he looks like a bigger version of Sean Ray, just the
Hmm.
roundness and everything. And I looked at everybody
Hmm.
backstage and I'm saying, I don't know who this guy is, but he's definitely winning the show. I looked at everybody backstage and this guy is definitely the winner here today. He's by far ahead of everybody back here, even guys that were much bigger than him. just because of his shape and structure and the roundness, he was definitely going to win. So that's where I first met Phil, and I've always got along with him. I mean, I always, he recognizes me and he says hi to me at at the shows. I even saw him at what is it, the Ursa convention earlier last year. He took a picture with me. He's always been cool to me. So, and I was a huge Phil Heath fan the whole time he was Mr. Olympia. And even when he went against Sean Roden the year that he lost, I actually bet Sean Ray $1,000, and I bet on Phil Heath because I felt that even though he had a little stomach issue going, I still felt he was better than Sean Roden. So I've always been a huge Phil Heath fan, and I still am to this day. But he has his way of going at things, and Derek is just different. He's got that warrior mentality of you got to win and do whatever it takes kind of thing, and like I said, the dream killer and all this kind of thing going on, which again, you want me to put that up?
I'm just showing it. Keep talking. That's him, 2005.
Let me put it. Yeah, that's where he won the USA's.
Yeah, we're talking about the warrior thing. Just keep going.
So, anyways, yeah, like I said, he's got that warrior mentality. You got to win, and it's competition. And Derek is more about everything's positive. He doesn't want to say anything negative. But with that being said, Derek did come out and said, he was really upset about his showing at the last Olympia. And he felt like some things were done wrong in his prep that made no sense to him. And basically he felt that, it wasn't right. And he, without saying Haney Rombod's name, he basically blamed Haney Rombod on messing up his prep. And he said, now with Chris Aceto, they did things completely differently and everything came together and he did it right. So I won't say that Derek's not honest and he's not saying, when things aren't wrong, but he just prefers to try to stay positive. I'll tell you, okay, this happened when Sampson got announced second at this Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain people in the crowd started booing. I got on my feet. I was so excited. I was clapping and I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like cheering for Derek, like trying to like yell over the booing people. Mm-hmm. I talked to Derek afterwards at the Jocko booth. I said, when those people started booing, I said, man, that's bullshit. I jumped up and I was cheering for you. And he goes, I didn't hear any booing. I only heard cheering. Mm-hmm. So in other words, like he didn't even want to acknowledge that. But it did happen. I wouldn't say it wasn't like the auditorium was booing. There was like a handful of people that were obviously hardcore Sampson fans that were booing.
Yeah, of course. Would happen either way.
Yeah. But he didn't want to hear about that. He just everything positive. Yeah. And he don't want to hear about that at all.
Yeah, I think when you look back, you probably shouldn't have brought it up even, but yeah.
I probably shouldn't have, I just I just said it because it happened.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hear about that. He's like, I
would have probably done the same and then be like, damn, I shouldn't even have mentioned it. Why do I say something negative in his best moment, But I would probably would have said the same. But I'm like, because being so enthusiastic, being like, but I stood up for you, and I was like, damn. But now, he probably even But you're right. You're right.
But one thing I realized about Derek, let's face it, after this last Olympia, people were discarding him. They were like, he's done. He's never going to win again. He's finished. People are so quick to do that. He has one, I wouldn't say bad showing. He didn't look horrible at the Olympia when he got third. He just wasn't at his best. But one time he doesn't win and they're like, oh, he's over. It's done. And
I send him. Yeah.
he refused to accept that. You know, and I got to say, I'm very impressed with Derek's mentality of, whatever goes on, he's going to keep pushing forward and stay positive. Because that's not always the easiest thing to do, especially when, you have all these people, throwing doubt on you and saying that you're finished, you're never going to win again, you're a one hit wonder, you shouldn't have won in the first place, all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love
And
that he won. And I sent him a message on Saturday, October 19th on WhatsApp, and he still hasn't read it. I think he's not using. Oh, he just updated his WhatsApp picture, so he's using it again. And I said, "Hey, brother, I believe in you. You got everything it takes, and you're still just at the beginning. You're great, and you can get even better. I know you have faith, but I do too. I'm happy for Sampson because he's a good guy who has been working hard. So are you, and you can definitely 100% regain this title. Best wishes, brother." And I bet on him even on RX Muscle, even though it was a brave bet. But I'm glad he won, right? Everyone on RX said, "Oh, Sampson, Sampson, Sampson." I said Derek, and I don't
well,
want to
I
say
said
it.
I said I think Derek can win, but I
Yeah,
still thought they were gonna. I thought they were gonna give to Sampson for politically.
yeah, yeah,
I thought they want this Sampson because for whatever reason they like him, and
yeah,
politically they're going to do it. And I got to give credit to Steve Weinberger for
yeah.
making the right call, but also if you saw in the night show, he did the comparisons um, with all three of them in the middle, and he made them pose all the mandatories at the very end, putting each one. He had Derek in the middle. He had Sampson in the middle, and he had Andrew Jack in the middle. And he made
Mm,
him to go made him do 3 rounds of comparisons to see who was going to fade, who was going to hang in there. And also, no one could say they didn't get compared fairly. They got
mm,
compared so much, like no one could say. Everybody got their chance in the middle, and he really worked the shit out of him to make sure that there was no, for a couple of reasons. One, there was no doubt that everybody got compared, but also for the audience to see, like, hey, everybody got compared over and over again, and they all got their chance in the middle.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I like that.
so,
He likes to work people. When it's close, he does that. He's like, I don't care. I want to make the right decision. Let's get over it again. And if it's
yeah,
close, we do it again. And also, I think also he does it for the other um, judges who might not be as quick as him to recognize who's winning, because he knows really fast. Usually, he's really good, but the other judges might not. And I'm not sure, but they might need to look a little better because he also wants the whole decision to be right because he's not
right.
in charge by himself. So I think that's also a good way to do it. It's like, give these guys, these judges, a good chance. Um, if they're not as quick as me, and they did. And I mean, it was still pretty close because some judges had Sampson winning even in prejudging. So that's how you see how biased their views are. And I think, for example, in Andrew Jack has a way better flowing physique than Sampson. So they always say like he has this great lines, and yes, but he has a very long biceps, and he has no separations in his arms ever. I've never seen it. His stomach always comes out in unesthetic way, even when he pulls his vacuum in the front lat spread and the front double, and that's a big weakness already. For some reason, he actually has good abs, but when he does his ab shut, he messes it up. I don't know what's going on there. If he doesn't have the air, I don't know because I think I can imagine. I said it before to other people, and they started doing it, and it was great. If he would twist a bit his upper body and would flex the abs on the double bicep and would flex and would pull in, because that's possible. But some people, like Ruli Winkler, they always push out. So they push their obliques out when they flex their abs. You can suck it in and flex your abs. If you do that and pose a little sideways, I think his front double would look way better. And also his front lat spread. he pulls his elbows too much forward and too much here instead of
Right.
up. So that makes his shoulders flat, right? When you do this, it makes your shoulders flat, and it makes you look weird. And he, he should if he fixes that, you know, you saw at Derek the highest level, and he approached a few things at his posing, and it was game changing. And even a Mr. Olympia can, Ronnie Coleman, he could have improved every pose. He was just so dominant that didn't really matter. But his posing was really not optimal. And
Hmm.
don't judge me. Everyone listening here, my posing is also not optimal. I know it, but I'm just here on the podcast judging the best in the world. So there's obviously the highest standard, and that's going to be interesting too, because there can be minor changes with big changes in the pose. If you just put a pose and you pull it up in a different way, you can look like it can change everything. It can make it into a winning pose. Like some
Well,
people that have to pull a vacuum to, like, if Derek in the front double would push his abs out, he would lose it every time. So
right.
from him doing the vacuum, it makes him win the pose. So that's a slight change, but it's a huge impact. And that could work the other way around for Sampson, I think.
Well, this was an observation that I made at the show, being that I was sitting very close. Um, well, first of all, let me say this. At prejudging, I wasn't sitting very close. I was like halfway back.
Mm-hmm.
At prejudging, sitting halfway back, and Samson being slightly watery, and he was watery because I did walk up to the front after a while. He did not look that great at the prejudging. He didn't look like he was even competing with Derek. I even had Andrew Jack possibly beating him on conditioning
Mm-hmm.
at prejudging. He did pull that water out for the night show. And he came back at the night show, and there I was 5 rows back, right close to the stage. And I got to say, he looked like a different person from prejudging to the night show. So that
Yeah.
water that he was holding really threw him off big time, because
Yeah.
even size wise at the prejudging, he didn't look that as big when he was holding that water, because you just don't see the detail. When
Yeah.
he came back to the night show, he looked humongous, like size wise, just because he was dry and you could see the detail better. I wouldn't say he was as dry as Derek, but it was better, way better than it was at prejudging. So on him, if he's off even about it by a little bit, and at first, I thought maybe he's just not conditioned. But if he's off, if he doesn't nail his conditioning at the show, like water wise, he's just not the same bodybuilder. It matters that
Do you-
much.
like, there's going to be a lot of discussion now about should he get a well-known coach, a bigger coach. But what do you think? Is this on? Could this be on his wife coaching him, or do you rather think they just had the timing wrong and they know what to do? They just didn't time it right.
It's hard to say without knowing like exactly what he did
Mm-hmm.
and what went wrong. Something definitely went wrong that he didn't nail it at the prejudging, because he did come back the following night and nailed it. So basically, in my thinking and my based on my experience, it was a judgment call, and they made a bad judgment. In other words, he either ate too much or didn't dry out enough for prejudging. And then after prejudging, he maybe took a diuretic, pulled back something, and pulled it together. And he was able to make that change in 24 hours. So yeah, there was a judgment call that was not correct. And I would have to
Yeah,
say that goes to experience and his wife's maybe lack of experience. You know,
could be. Yeah.
probably the if a Chris Aceto or the right person was in there, um, they would have pulled it together for prejudging, and we would be having a. I still think Derek would have won, but it would have been a much more controversial show without if Sampson had come in 100%, and nailed it at the prejudging. It would have
I
been
think, yeah,
it would have been different.
I think you're right, but I think he also should have been in a better condition from the get-go on Friday. So I think
Well, I
the
don't think he
he should
lost any
not.
fat between Friday and Saturday.
No, exactly, but he wasn't at 100% on Saturday, so he could have been, even if he carried
I
as
think
much
I
water on
honestly
Friday, he
I
could
think
have been
on
harder on
Saturday
Friday.
he was as good as he can be.
Oh,
I
you
think
think he
that's
was like,
I
okay,
don't think he can I don't think he can get any better than that. I think what you saw on Saturday is the best you're going to get out of him. That is his 100%.
yeah, then
I
it
don't
was a judgment call.
that is his 100% right there. What you saw on Saturday night was his 100%. His
Okay,
100% is not necessarily Derek's 100% or Hottie's 100%, but that is his
yeah.
100%.
So then I have the theory that they thought they're good enough to win prejudging, and they were somehow afraid to look worse at the night show for some reason.
Well,
And
I
then
think what
they
happened is prejudging, they saw,
yeah.
okay, we in the comparison, they could see like we're not winning.
Mhm.
We're watery. They probably didn't even realize they're watery until they were on stage standing next to Derek and Andrew. In the mirror by themselves, they're like, I look amazing.
It's just
And
tough to peak twice 2 days in a row. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you
but I'm saying,
almost have to decide for one.
well, Derek did it,
Exactly.
and
That's why I'm wondering how he did it, because that's pretty damn impressive. So I would probably think he was just that hard and
I
didn't need
okay, I have done it
much or
before.
any diuretics. Yeah, but okay.
Okay,
Like,
let me just tell you
yeah,
something. I did it before, and I
yeah.
I competed in Excalibur, which I won, and the
Hmm.
following day I had to do Masters USA,
Hmm.
and I did it. And the way I did it is I had to do diuretics for Excalibur, and then I had to do it again the next day. And I can be honest with you, I never want to put myself through that again. I felt horrible at the Excalibur after being dehydrated for that long. I felt just like I didn't feel bad at Excalibur, but by the time I got to the Masters USA, I'd been dehydrated for like 48 hours. I did not feel well. I did not
Yeah.
feel healthy, and I had a headache. I felt tired. I just was irritable. I wanted it to be over with because I was dehydrated for 48 hours straight.
I
It,
think I think when you really want to pull it off, also as an open bodybuilder, you would probably have to smoothly go into the show, so you don't have to carb load too much and can keep the water pretty stable throughout the last week, and probably take your diuretic, start it super close to prejudging if it's a 2 day show, because most of the times it's really hard to kind of trick your body with diuretics for more than 24 hours. So I would probably try to do it as close as possible prejudging, and in the pre-run, don't have too much fluctuation and stay very stable, so you know exactly
yeah, but
what
at
you're
the
going to look
same
like.
time, that's almost. I mean, you can't take pre-diuretic an hour before the prejudging. It doesn't
No,
work that
but like
quick.
instead of like the night before, starting the night before, you can start the day off.
Mm,
If prejudging is
yeah, I don't
at
know.
7
Just
and you start,
you don't have enough
you
time
just
to
do
make
it at 12.
adjustments if you need to. One thing
That's
Sean
true, yeah.
Clarita said that one
Yeah,
thing Sean
that's true.
Clarita said, he was talking in an interview about his previous two Olympias versus this Arnold showing. And one thing he said is in his previous two Olympias, he did no carb loading under Matt Jensen. For whatever reason, he didn't carb load at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then when he went to the Prague show, he carb loaded and he used only cream of rice, and I think he said white potatoes. Those were
Hmm.
his three carb sources. And he carb loaded for Prague and he looked way better. And he carb loaded for this Arnold and he looked way better. Um, so he did carb load for the shows, and he was drier and fuller and everything. So he did it right. So it's not, look, once the fat is off, then it's just a matter of like manipulating carbs and water. And it's all timing. It's just a timing issue, and then once you peak, you have to be able to hold that peak till the following day. And that's the
That's
tricky
the thing.
part.
That's why. Exactly.
That's why they
That's
used to
why I'm
call Phil
saying.
Heath.
Yeah.
They used to call Phil Heath Mr. Saturday Night, because he would not be quite there on Friday, and then Saturday night he'd come in and nail it, and then beat and pull ahead.
Yeah.
So
That's
maybe
why I'm
that was a
saying it's so
strategy.
tough. Yeah. It's so
Maybe that
tough.
was a strategy, but
Yeah.
in this case with Sampson, it didn't work for him because he came in slightly off for prejudging, and right there he lost the show.
Yeah.
Even though he did pull it together on Saturday night, I don't think enough to beat Derek, but he did pull it off enough to actually come in and do it. I'm not a fan of diuretics, to be honest with you. Well, like when I said I did diuretics for those 2 days, all I did was like Diazide, but
Yeah.
I did stay dehydrated by just drinking very little, and I stayed dehydrated for like 48 hours straight, which was
Mm.
like not a good feeling at all. Not a good feeling.
Yeah. I've never prepped anyone for a 2-day show, and I've never done a 2-day show. I've done a 2-day show. It's wrong. I did it just because I did two shows in a row, and but I decided after the second show that I'm going to do the next one the next day. So I didn't plan on doing it, and I couldn't keep it, like I was just spilling a little bit on the next day. And I feel you could take you could water down, but just delay it by one day, like a bit, so you would still drink on the day of the show, which most people do anyways. When they do diuretics, they still drink, but then the next day you could really drink nothing. Then you might be able to pull it off, but you also don't want to get flat. It's really tough, and it depends on the individual so much, of course, and on the division. It's way easier if the person doesn't have much muscle, and it's way easier if someone is like super round anyways, like a Sean Clarita.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
traditionally I've always done whatever show I was competing against, which would be like either the Cal or North Americans or Nationals or the USA. And every single time that show's on a Saturday, and every single time the show on, they have the Venice bodybuilding show little thing on the following Monday. It's always
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
It's just the way they set it up. I mean, it's usually like that. Usually there's a it's actually it was for years and years and years. I would do the Cal, and then I'd go to the Venice show. And for years I would always over diet and over deplete for my main show. And then
Hmm.
after the show was over, I would like eat and drink, and I'd go to Venice, and because it didn't matter, I would just be like eating and drinking like a bunch of stuff, and I'd be full as I would always come in as a light heavyweight, like 198, be depleted, flat, and just look like shit at like the big show. And then I'd come in at 215 or 220 2 days later at Venice and just look freaky. Why I
That's
didn't
the
do that,
cortisol. That's the stress, man. I bet.
maybe that, but I would also, right after the show, I would eat, sleep, relax, and I'd come back, and I was still peeled,
Mm-hmm.
but be full and 15 to 20 pounds heavier, and look just nuts. And I did this for years and years and years. I did this. So um, there is something to being said, like just you could hit it at the show, um, and then you just got to hold that condition, for 2 days. Now, one thing I can't say is, okay, I'd come at the Venice show, I'd gain all this weight, but I don't know that I was the same hardness 2 days after the Venice show. after I kept eating and drinking.
Yeah.
Actually, the one year I came from North Americans and I was way over depleted, way flat, and I was trying to carb load with no water, which obviously that's
Stupid.
dumb.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
But I was so scared of holding water that I was just
Yeah.
flat, and my stomach was a little bit distended because the food was going into my stomach and not getting absorbed. And then the following Sunday, I drank a half a gallon of rice milk. I just went to the store and it was there, and I was thirsty. I drank a half a gallon of rice milk. I come back to Venice Beach the next day, 15, 17 pounds heavier, peeled. So that's where I learned that. So there is a fine line, I think it would be best to probably carb load and not even use too much diuretic, just maybe a little bit. Nail it for your prejudging, and then if you have to do another show, the night show the following day, just try to hold it. But I think the way to do it, you have to keep pushing carbs and water and keep pulling water at the same time. So you'd have to kind of do that all at the same time. And I've done that I even did this there was one show where between the prejudging and the night show, I was eating and drinking, and I was taking like a half of a hydrochlorodiazide every 3 hours because there was a long gap between the prejudging and the night show for whatever reason. So every 3 hours, I was taking a half of chlorodiazide, and I was eating and drinking all the way from prejudging to the night show on the same day. And that kept me full and hard the whole day long because my body would fluctuate that quickly in between, just in a few hours.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's where basically, you really have to be standing there paying attention. Somebody has to be paying attention to how your body is changing from literally hour to hour, minute to minute.
Yeah.
Like I know with my guys, when I prep them for a show, I go to the show, and every 2 to 3 hours, I'm looking at them and deciding what our next meal is going to be. Or whether we're going to take a more diuretic or no diuretic, or whether we're going to cut some water or add some water in. And it's a balancing act of just trying to like get there and then stay there and hit it at the right time. And that's where I think Sampson just missed it. They just didn't, maybe they ate a little bit too much going into prejudging, or maybe they didn't dry out enough, but whatever it was, he was a little flat and a little watery.
Yeah.
And then they corrected it for the night show. But then at that point, I don't think he still wouldn't have beat Derek because Derek was so on. But at that point, it was game over.
Yeah, I agree. Derek won fair and square. And yeah, 2-day shows are tough. 1-day shows are not that hard to peak, but 2-day shows, and I would always go for the prejudging because it always counts more. You can tell me whatever you want, even if they say that it counts the same. The prejudging is just like the first impression is more important.
Yeah.
So if you want to gamble, and also if you you nailed prejudging, maybe you can still hold the condition. But if you gamble on coming into prejudging not at 100%, you don't even know if you can peak the next day, and so you might miss it twice.
I would never
Yeah.
intentionally come to prejudging off.
Yeah, so always
never.
prejudging should always be 100% and then holding it. I agree with that. I wouldn't gamble on the next day because then you might have 2 bad days.
Yeah, no, I would never come
So
to
worst
prejudging
scenario
off.
is you have 1 bad day. Yeah.
I would always try to nail it at prejudging and then see if I can just hold my condition to the following day.
Yeah, I agree.
So any last thoughts on the Arnold? I wanted to say this coming Olympia, I think it's going to be super exciting. Last year, I have VIP tickets for the Olympia, and I know I get an email when they go on sale. And I bought my VIP tickets like the day after they went on sale, and that week they were sold out. So
Cool.
I guarantee you they're going to sell out fast this year. So the minute those go on sale, if you plan to go to the Olympia and you want VIP tickets, which I recommend getting a VIP pass package because if you don't, you're just missing out on a lot of stuff, and you're going to get shitty seats inevitably. And it's just a better deal to get the VIP packages. If you're, and by the way, you have to be on a list to get the VIP packages. If you're not on a list, you don't even get on it. I'm on a list for the VIP packages because you can't even buy those. When they put them out, like they're not out to the public. They send them to the VIP people that are already on the list from the previous years first, and those people get first dibs. And only if there's some left over do those get. So you might not even be able to get VIP packages at Olympia, but if you can, you need to buy them like immediately. You can't sleep on it, even for a day. I know when they go on sale, I'll be buying. I'm already booking my hotel reservations right now for Olympia. I'm already looking at them, figuring out where I'm going to stay and everything.
Makes sense. So, I would rather take an Airbnb. And
I'm
probably going to stay a little longer.
We stayed in Airbnb last year for Olympia. We had a real big house I had Luke and a few friends there, and it worked out really well. When I say hotel, I meant Airbnb. Yeah. But
I always watch it at Gasp with everyone. They have like a cool like barbecue and at the Gasp House with the guys from Gasp and Better Bodies, and then it's kind of fun. There's always like
because you couldn't get the tickets to go inside.
No, and if you don't have very amazing VIP tickets, the stream is better.
Right.
So you either like you said, either VIP full gas or don't go.
Right.
That's what I would recommend. So, yeah.
But yeah, I prefer to go in person just because I have since, I don't know, forever and a day. But this is going to be, I think this will probably be the most exciting Olympia we've had in a long time. Again, for all the reasons we just stated, because there's no clear winner here. Although I would have to say at this moment in time, I would have Derek as a front runner.
Yeah, of course. He's like the favorite. Yeah.
He's a favorite right now because he just beat Sampson. But again, if you look at history, Derek has one Olympia and one Arnold. Hottie has one Olympia, one Arnold. Sampson has one Olympia, one Arnold. So, and then, you can't count Nick out and you can't count Martin out. As far as anybody else coming from the outside, I don't see it yet. But, I mean, even that, what's the Russian guy's name?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to good Vito at Pittsburgh, but we'll see.
Good
we'll
Vito.
have to see how much he improved.
He's a way dark horse right now, in my opinion. But I mean, if his back came up tremendously, he could be in there as a top 5 guy. I mean, let's. I don't think a lot of people saw Brandon Curry being in 4th place. A lot of people have written him off, but Brandon Curry, he came in 4th in this Arnold, and he looked damn good. I mean, he looked really good. So, I mean, where did we have him? I think I had him up like 5th or somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't quite remember, but somewhere.
I think I had him up there, but a lot of people were writing Brandon off.
I think he could even get 3rd, is what I said. I think I could see him even get 3rd, but realistically, I wouldn't. So I might have had him 4th or 5th, which he turned out.
Yeah, I think we had him in the 4th or 5th spot, anyways. But I think a lot of people were writing him off, but he came in and he looked really good.
He did.
He got that comparison in the top 4, so that shows you how good he was. So again, I'm really excited about this Olympia and this whole upcoming bodybuilding season, because it's sort of wide open right now.
It's exciting. It's really exciting. It's going to be fun to attend the shows. I'm also thinking about going to Pittsburgh and New York, maybe even compete myself. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to do a show. I'm definitely going to do at least one show. And it's going to be in 2 or 4 weeks, the first one, and then we'll see.
Yeah, definitely you should go for it.
Yeah.
All right, I think we covered enough. We're like an hour and 24 minutes.
Yeah.
So this is Larry Pollock and Austin Powers signing out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave your comments. and we'd like to hear your opinions on everything. You can go to undergroundperformancegym.com, and we got specials going on all kinds of products. We've got HD muscle, kratom, other things, and also Leo, list your stuff.
Overcome Podcasts on YouTube and same on Instagram, overcome.podcast. Austrian Powers on Instagram and Austrian Oak on YouTube. And yeah, get my ebooks, learn about anabolics and peptides, and that's what's up.
That's going to be a wrap.
All right. Thank you, Larry, for your time and for having me. I'll see you next week, I guess.